Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
As I said after the game, I just have to say it again, our fans were spectacular. Just absolutely amazing. To have that many people take their hard-earned money and go out there, or people who live there, you know, that support Husker Nation. So it's just such an amazing thrill, and I just am unbelievably grateful. I'm going to say a couple things for a minute, so just forgive me, but I do want to make sure I highlight just sort of all the things that are going on campus right now. Like, obviously, volleyball, number one. I mean, you know, have they lost a set? Was it 40-some in a row, 43? I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. But our rifle team, you know, number one right now, and where they've come from in 2 years. Amazing wrestling. I can't wait to, you know, it's really cool that Bud went out and walked them out and see him wrestling at number 2, bowling at number 2. So, really cool things happening. You know, I'm hoping I can maybe get to men's or women's basketball here soon. I mean, they're off to exciting starts and doing great things. And, you know, one of the cool things in my job is when we have a huge win like we did against UCLA and you know, you get the text from Fred and Amy and all those people. So really excited.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, Honky, and I'm with Redcast Rob.
Well, everyone, I am announcing today that I will be sending it out. Vote for me for the podcast Heisman. I think that, you know, we might as well just sweep all the awards this year here on the Nebraska side of things. And who is more deserving than me?
Yes, I'll agree. I'm also with Abby.
Yes, I don't know if people, I'll let you guys know that a buyout for me to leave the podcast was discussed at one point, but so I wasn't going to come, but then I was told that wasn't actually me being fired. So I'm here, so you can't fire me for cause from the Redcast. Still here.
We'll have to get lawyers involved, but yes, you know, Abby, that
maybe
is true. So.
Maybe the Attorney General. Who knows?
That's right. Also with Boomer.
Well, luckily the governor hasn't stepped in yet, Abby, for the podcast. So, you know, you're still good for now. And I'm just excited that I'm now on, what is this, week 2 without ESPN? It's actually been kind of liberating in a way. You know, a lot less SEC content, and, you know, I haven't missed it so much. So go ahead, Disney, keep burning everything down. Why not?
Well, it was a good week, whether you have Disney or not. It was a good week to be a Husker fan, and we're going to talk about that tonight. There's a lot of victories that we can talk about. Not just in football, where the Huskers went out to UCLA, out to the Rose Bowl. Redcast Dave was out there, part of the 25,000 plus Husker fans that took over more than half of the attendance there. But Nebraska won 28-21 there. But before we get into all that, let's go around the room like we normally do. Let's talk about what we've learned in the last week. And I'll start with you, Abby. What did you learn?
I learned that anything is possible. Like, I know that sounds really silly, but we saw a depleted and demoralized Penn State lose off of an outrageous catch to Indiana. So almost beat number 2 in the country, Indiana. Google me, Kurt Signetti, Indiana, on a depleted Penn State team that has never won a conference game. And then we saw hasn't won a conference game, or Wisconsin beat Washington, a newly ranked team. So, you know, I know the odds not always in anybody's favor, but it just goes to show you at any given week, anything weird can happen.
Big Ten. Just the deepest conference in the country, isn't it, Boomer?
We're as good at the ACC.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Boomer, what'd you learn this week?
Well, geez, what have I learned? Well, first off, that I don't need ESPN, so that's always been a good thing to go with. You know, plenty of football on other networks. You know, Emma Johnson is a darn good football player. You know, maybe we should have, you know, started some Heisman hype for him earlier so I could get a little more eyes on him, but there's still time to end the year. And, man, he's probably the MVP of this season, I'd have to say, easily for this team. So,
oh, yeah, without doubt. And, Rob, how about you? What did you learn this week?
Well, I learned that no matter how much complaining and you know, moaning and groaning that we do throughout the games about, you know, whether or not we should be running a 3-man front or a 4-man front, which, you know, I really pay attention to that a lot more given the amount of text messages I get about it during a game. We are still the 11th ranked defense overall in the country, and we are one of only 7 teams to not allow 400 yards of offense in the country, like in any game this year. So not everything is as bad as it looks, even when it's looking really bad.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think, and that's something we can talk about too, is stats. You can always, you can take what you want from them, and that's for good or bad. I think as we get into tweets of the week here, we've already hit a little bit on this first one, Boomer, and let me bring it up here. And this is from SEC Exposed. Now, we've talked a little bit already about the. Let me blow this up a little bit here. And this was from Awful Announcing, and SEC Exposed retweets it here. But Awful Announcing did an article here. They're talking about the perception of ESPN's at an all-time low, and says there are so many other examples that could be cited here where someone has ESPN in their crosshairs on a daily basis. Former ESPN stars are now publicly slamming the network, and what has become compared to their time in Bristol. College football fans are constantly on the lookout for signs of SEC bias, and ESPN putting their billion-dollar contract with the mega conference first above all else. And to go along with that here, I'm also going to show you from Jeff Schwartz. He goes, win on the road against a ranked team and get dropped in the poll for a team that beat Citadel at home. And that is referencing Oregon, who fell behind Ole Miss, who went up playing the Citadel, and Oregon beat Iowa on the road. So this is just a general, it's our evergreen every week discussion about the SEC and bias and ESPN. But I figure I'd start with you.
Yeah, I guess first off, no one escaped the Citadel, playing them unscathed. So, and it is getting to be that season for the SEC to start playing all their November cupcakes. So I'm sure we'll be seeing plenty more of that in the near future. And that first tweet that we had, that brings up a really good point of, when it comes to ESPN and the fact that they own or they're, contracted with the SEC network and, have such an influence on the playoff, the broadcasters of it. That really does put them in a tough spot. I mean, people are going to look for evidence of, bias in it, whether it's true or not. But if you're a network and your job is to promote your network partner, which would be the SEC in this case, it's going to be tough not to be biased in some way, shape, or form for them. I mean, you've got an investment to protect, and that just puts everyone there, I think, in a really, really tough spot when it comes to college football. Anytime you do say something positive about the SEC, people are going to view it through that lens. Journalism, whether it's sports or otherwise, is supposed to kind of take an unbiased approach to things, and when you've got that much money wrapped up in it, it's going to be hard to avoid that.
Mm-hmm. This is a little trivia question for everyone. Where's the Citadel? Anyone know?
Dustin probably knows.
I know this one because of my football travels over the summer, but when I was in Charleston, South Carolina.
South Carolina, that's right. I was going to say Georgia or South Carolina.
Yeah, the Citadel's actually, I think it's like the National Guard or the Army of South Carolina, essentially, is what the Citadel is. But beautiful campus over there. Beautiful town out there in Charleston. But yeah, Boomer, I completely agree with you. It's kind of a discussion we're going to have every week because I can't help it. Especially, tonight we had it one more time where the college football playoff rankings come out, and you're going to constantly hear about how 8 of the teams are from the SEC that are in the versus 6 in the Big Ten and all that. And rankings are becoming so increasingly idiotic, and because they are self-fulfilling, prophecies. Like, the SEC has 8 teams ranked, so when they beat each other, they just stay ranked all the time. And I retweeted one that Sarah did tonight, and it was Alabama earlier this year beating ranked South Carolina, and I think South Carolina was number 13. Why in the world would they ever number 13? And why do those teams continue to get credit for beating bad teams early in the season? We actually have audio here. I'm going to click on this here. This is from Coach Rule yesterday in his presser talking about those preseason rankings.
The flaw in college football today is so much of it is preseason this, preseason that. Like look at the rankings of the teams that were the top teams, and really the CFP has figured it out, right? Like they do it now. They wait and see your body of work, and they do it now. And so, this team's going to be really good, but hey, wait, they're 3-6, and this team, like what's Minnesota's record right now? I don't know, 6-3. I mean, like, oh, how could you ever lose? Well, they're a pretty good team. And so I just think, people kind of bias things like this team has 2 losses and this team has 2 losses. This team's still in the top 15. This team's out of the top 25 because a lot of it's just pre.
A lot of it's pre. Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that, Coach Rule, and this is definitely something that we've been hitting on week after week. But we'll keep an eye on it moving forward.
I saw related to this. I saw a tweet from somebody that said that like Miami could finish ranked higher in the polls or higher, whatever in the poll, and not make the college football playoff. So they would be ranked higher in the poll than the ACC champion and not make the playoff. But that ACC champ who would be ranked below them could make it in. And I was talking to Dustin about that. And it's like, yeah, but look at who Miami lost to. And the only reason that they are even ranked at this point is because they were preseason ranked. Because they beat Clemson. I don't even remember. Was it Clemson at the beginning of the year? Great. Clemson sucks. Like none of these So even that of just like, yeah, that's nonsense. That's insane.
I mean, we were even
Because
talking
Miami
at one
shouldn't
point.
be ranked.
Yeah, at one point, like what Tennessee is 6-3 right now. They don't have any wins over a team that's higher than a 500 record at this point. Iowa, same thing, 6-3. They have not been a team with higher than a 500 record. So I mean, it is. I don't know. I mean, you can go down the line of the top 25 teams, but my point is that like, I think I heard somebody say that like 1 through like 5, generally those teams are world beaters, right? 5 through 15, those teams probably would have a hard time beating a lot of teams that were, anywhere from like 16 through 50. Like those are good matchups. Like that's how close it is in college football as far as the talent level goes. Like being ranked at this point outside of like really the top 10 is meaningless, and preseason rankings suck. So
yeah, I think the Vince here says that, but Clemson was ranked then, and
I hope he's sarcastic with that.
Yeah, Donovan.
He was. Yeah, Miami beat.
Okay, good. I was gonna say.
Yeah, Donovan says I think the Go Big Redcast should do their own top 25 poll and compare it each week. I think honestly, it's more a discussion of like not doing polls. Period. Like polls are just they're creating these ridiculous conversations that we end up
narratives,
and they create narratives and who had stronger conference schedules versus other ones, and it's like again you go to the NFL and you don't have these conversations. Nobody cares about who is 6-2 or 7-1 or 5-3. You care about what your record is, and that's at the end of the day they have divisions and they have rules for how teams get in there, and there's tiebreakers and all that kind of stuff, and it's well defined. And in college football, nothing's well defined. So
yeah, I think the problem is it's that definition, right? Like apparently there's an equation to figure this out, but they've never released the equation. The closest we get, right, is like Dave and Adam, friends of the podcast, Dave and Adam, will release their equations and kind of their formulas every week when this comes out and compare it to how the playoff committee ranks people. But the playoff committee doesn't, if they have any kind of equation, they don't share it. So there's no transparency. In everything else, every other sport, there's transparency. In basketball, there's a net score, right? And there's a way to calculate that, and it adjusts as the season goes on. So you got your preseason rankings, but they don't actually matter because it actually is just the end of this. It's how things are at the end of the season that impacts your score. And you have to have a certain score, right? Or this many teams. Volleyball goes by RPI, and there's a very clear definition of how you calculate RPI. Baseball, we don't have to like how baseball does theirs, but it's a formula, and it's a formula that is explainable. You can look at it. Again, we don't like it. It doesn't help us. It deeply, deeply benefits Southern and coastal teams, but it's still like there are NFL, there are definitions. You are the best, and then you have this many teams, and then this many wild cards, and like all of that. So there's like clear definitions, and you know what you have to do to get in once you're there. And I think that's the biggest problem with this is if the college football playoff came out and said, here is the equation that we use, I think there would still be people who like complain about it, but I think it would be easier for fans to digest because at least then they'd be like, okay, here's the numbers and here's how it works out. The problem is that they don't release that, and the conspiracy then is they don't release it because then they can kind of put whatever team they want in. They can leave Florida State out and not have to explain it. They can just, or they can put Alabama in, even though
And
they
they
lost
can
to
create,
Texas, right?
and they
They
can
can
create
make
new
whatever they want. Mhm.
Yeah, they can create new rules every year, right? So you keep one team out because a quarterback's hurt, and that's going to affect them. But then the next year, a quarterback gets hurt on some other team, and they don't keep it. At the end of the day, again, the NFL doesn't seem to have these problems. The NBA, these other pro sports don't seem to have these problems, and I just think we create our own problems here with all these rankings and whatever clicks or whatever it gets for ESPN on Tuesday nights that they get to show a silly show that means absolutely nothing. And then it goes back to that first tweet too about when you have a network that is running this that has a very vested interest in one conference being in there. I don't know. It could seem to lead to some issues, but that leads me maybe to the next tweet here, and this is from Jim, Minnesota, and there's a question about a dumb question. How do you sync it with TV? It being Husker Radio. And Jim says it's not a dumb question at all. Open Husker Radio on your phone or tablet, hit play on their live broadcast, turn into the TV broadcast and see it where it's at in relation to the radio broadcast, usually about 10 to 15 seconds apart. Pause your TV a few times and get it aligned. And all he's talking about is if you don't like listening to the national TV folks that are doing a game and you want to listen to the local radio, that's the way to do it. And that's a good way of doing it. I know there's a number of people that are tired of listening to national, the national folks when they're doing a Husker game. And I'm in full approval of that. Next up here, and this one is from our good friend Tyler Kai. Abby, I'm going to give this one over to you. This gets us back into some Husker stuff and transitioning into the weekend that we just had and the show title that we have. But what a weekend for the Huskers. Swimming and diving won 162-38 over Kansas. Husker wrestling won 33-3 over Army. Men's basketball 96-66 over FIU. Volleyball swept Minnesota. Women's basketball 80-46 over Samford. And football beat UCLA. And also, Coach Rule at the beginning of this, the video, he talked about the number 1 Rifle, who also beat Army earlier this year. I'm not sure how I feel about Rifle beating Army, but and bowling number 2 as well. Abby, it was a good weekend, and it's been a good fall overall for the Husker fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know we're disappointed with some of the outcomes of our football game, and that's fair. I was talking about this, and it's like we can be disappointed with it, but then you look at maybe we'll get into this. Really, to me, the only time I've been really just disappointed in a sports outcome was Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's the only one. So that's great. That's how often has that happened for us? That we've won. I mean, I know we have some other losses and there were close losses and they're like, oh, we could have won that. But I feel like that's a very different feeling than just what the hell happened against Minnesota, right? So we haven't had that in our other sports. We haven't had that in basketball yet. We had a little bit of a what the heck happened today in basketball just because we didn't look very good, but still won. So I think that's great. I mean, it's hard to be mad. It's hard to be upset right now. And in November for Nebraska sports, that's feels unusual, doesn't it? That there's just not a lot to be upset about at the moment. I mean, validly upset about.
Mm-hmm. Well, Rob, Abby hit on this a little bit with basketball. This leads us to the tweet here with men's basketball. This is from Saturday, but here was Rank Mask, and he messed around. He got a triple-double, 18 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists there. Who the heck were we playing that game? We remember the opponent that week. We've been playing Eastern Maryland, Shore, Samford, something. I don't know. But
no, we played
West Georgia was the first
game.
It was FIU.
FIU.
International University.
Yeah. Anyways, Rob, what were your thoughts there?
Well, it'd be more appropriate to talk about tonight's game since we did just beat Maryland Eastern Shore tonight.
There you go.
But overall right now, this team, they seem to be finding their identity, which is shooting a lot of threes at this point, which they were 6 for 33 or something like that tonight. But against FIU, they shot much better, and they had a 30-point win there. We had a 19-point win tonight. Maryland Eastern Shore, they did take Georgia Tech down to overtime. I think at one point in the second half, they had a 9-point lead there too. So then they came and turned around and lost to Georgia and only scored 29 points. So
that was a crazy score, like 91-29.
91-29. Yeah. Yeah. So, who's to know what it is with these early opponents, but this team is still finding themselves in their identity. At some point, it would be nice to see them stop shooting the three when it's not going down and start forcing the ball into the middle to guys like Burke and Mass. But, hey, that's what they're trying to work on now, right? Like they have game plans for every game. They do play Oklahoma, which will be our first true test of the season coming up here on Saturday. And then they'll be out somewhere at a neutral court next week playing teams like New Mexico and Winthrop, I think.
The next two games. So I'll be there on Saturday. It's at Sioux Falls. It's at the Sanford Pentagon against Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And then the women play at the Sanford Pentagon the next day against North Dakota State. And then, Rob, to your point, the next game or the next series of games for Nebraska, the men's team is going to be at Kansas City.
Yeah,
I think it's at the Sprint Center, and all those games are Peacock games for television. So, I mean the schedule starts to ratchet up after these first few directional.
Yeah, don't forget, Honky, you've got your own Peacock login on my account, so you go ahead.
I do.
Feel free to use that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I won't need it again for Oklahoma. I'll be at that one, so I'll get. I'm excited to watch a game in the Pentagon. I've heard a lot of good things about it. We're not going to do an actual.
Is it the Pentagon or the Pyramid?
No, it's the Pentagon.
Oh, they call it the Pentagon, really?
Yeah, go and look at it.
It's actually shaped like a Pentagon. Yeah,
with like kind of a coliseum built around it. It's a whole area out there.
It's kind of cool. Yeah,
they have like a Top Golf kind of place and a bunch of fields, indoor, outdoor stuff.
Well, that's because they got nothing else to do in South Dakota.
That's right. Well, yeah, of course. We're not going to do a real Nebraska ball segment here tonight. So, I mean, anything you want to talk about basketball, men's or women's, this would be the time. Abby, what are your thoughts so far on what you've seen through both teams?
I just one thing with the men and how they shot threes today, that's those 17 threes that they hit against FIU is an anomaly. That's a lot. It's a lot of threes. They were bound to kind of revert to the norm or whatever that's called. Wasn't great, but that was bound to kind of happen. You're kind of going to have those games where you slip down a little bit to kind of essentially make up for it. But I have been really impressed. This is not going to be surprising to anybody who knows me, of the women. I think the women have done amazingly well so far this season. I had a tweet. Let me try to find it. That basically, so Britt Prince, Britt Prince is 20th in the nation among P5 players, averaging 21 points per game. And she's averaging 23 minutes a game, which is the least amount in that top 20. So she's averaging 21 points a game. It's 20th in the nation, playing the fewest minutes per game. That's pretty impressive. So once things start to ratchet up, I just think more people need to be paying attention to Britt Prince. And I know our fans know her. Yes, thank you. There it is. All of our fans.
Pavelka's fat uncle. We can always count on him.
Because he's always good for a Nebraska ball tweet. But yeah, so great because, she's so talented. She's going to be so good, so much better as the season goes on. And we get Natalie Potts back in a month or two. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. The Big Ten is really, really deep in men's and women's basketball this year. It is a very, very good basketball conference this year. USC beat a higher ranked North Carolina State in women already. UCLA destroyed a very highly ranked Oklahoma team again in women. So it's going to be a really competitive year for both men and women once we get into the conference. So I think we just take these non-con wins as we get them, and ugly or not, we celebrate them because they might be harder to get as the season goes on and as we get into conference play.
With this being a bye week for Husker football, I think next Tuesday night's Redcast would be a great time for us to do our first real Nebraska ball, men's and women's basketball kind of breakdown. Abby, I know you went to the preseason media days with the Big Ten for both Amy and Fred. And so it would be good to really kind of get into that. I feel like I'm still a little bit behind with basketball. I've just kind of paid
It's
attention a
hard,
little bit. And
Yeah.
specifically with the men's team, I mean, the teams they've played so far, it's so hard for me to get into that. So this weekend, being able to watch them play Oklahoma it'll give us some more to talk about. And I'd love to see the same thing with the women's side too, is that we really get a chance to kind of break down. Let's get to know the rosters a little bit and talk about that next week with Redcasters. And because I'm sure that, everyone's probably feeling a little bit of like, who are some of the new folks that we have on both of the teams?
Yeah, definitely.
As Boomer, did you have anything basketball wise you wanted to say?
No, I don't.
No.
That was hockey. That was it. That's what I was trying to think of this week.
The Very Give Talk Show.
Yes, the Very Give Talk Show. Yes.
That's going to be a whole new segment, I think, for us. Is just Boomer, what do you think? No.
Sorry.
To continue along with the other sports besides football and volleyball that we focus on for all the right reasons here. But this is from Rick Grubaugh, and this is on our Facebook page. Rick Grubaugh, he said, and so Rick, for anyone, Boomer, of course, you know him from our Columbus Goes days. He was one of our football coaches and everything. He goes, I canceled my trip to UCLA and instead attended Nebraska wrestling match with Army, who is rated number 23. Here's what I witnessed and who attended. Number 2, Huskers 33, Army 3. Bud Crawford, the greatest boxer, led the team out from Nebraska. Jordan Burroughs, known as the greatest wrestler who attended Nebraska. Larry the Cable Guy, the greatest comedian. Over 70 alumni wrestlers were there, including Big 8 champion George Rambor. Put that with Jordan Larson volleyball and our 71 and 95 football teams. We Nebraskans have had our share of the best evers. And I just thought that was again, we don't always give enough love to some of those other sports, and we're trying to. That sounded like a great weekend there for wrestling to go along with all the other things that we're going to be talking about with basketball and volleyball and football. So thank you to Rick for that. One other sport, and I have to pull this one up for a tweet of the week. And this one goes against me here. Java Chamberlain retweeted us. And I was responding to, there was a question, I think it was Husker Baseball asked a question like, who is your Mount Rushmore of Husker players? And I was like, ooh, that's tough. If it's just players, I said Erstad, Gordon, Harvey, and Komine. And then if coaches are included, Van Horn needs to be up there. And I gave my reasoning for that. And Jabba retweeted and he goes, ouch, not even me in consideration. And I feel, you know what, Jabba, I feel for you there. You should definitely be in consideration. You are the only pitcher in the history of Nebraska baseball to walk away with a College World Series victory. Of course, you should be up there. But Boomer, I'll ask you here: Erstad, Gordon, Harvey, Komine. Any issue with those 4?
No, it's tough just to try to pick 4. Those are, Jabba's clearly an option too. I don't know which 4 I would have picked, but those 5 definitely are all clearly worthy of it. So. Yeah, maybe we could just kind of a slightly bigger Mount Rushmore. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, I would definitely say Jabba that there's deserving of 5 faces on the Husker Mount Rushmore of baseball, and I don't have any issue putting you up there with it. And with that takes us through kind of all the other sports, and let's start moving over into football. And Rob, I'm going to bring you into this one here. I thought this was a good one. This was PJ responding to your tweet from the other night, and it was 7 he goes, it was a Big Ten road win on the road with the true freshman backup quarterback. How could anyone be upset with any part of that victory? And that's responding to yours, which is 7-3 to 7-3. I don't care how it's 7-3. That's a Tuesday night discussion. I'm sleeping fine tonight. Well, it's Tuesday night, so let's start having that discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I kind of hit on it earlier too with the defense and just kind of the way that you can take what you see with your eyes, and then you can take the stats at the end of the game. And I think that as Husker fans, we tend to be a lot more critical as the game is going on with all of the PTSD that we are suffering from over the last 9 years and 9 seasons. But not to steal your catchphrase here anymore, Hunky, but at the end of the day, we won the game 28-21. I think we controlled the game. If you went back and told me that, the game plan was going to be to basically stop Maeva from being able to, throw the ball downfield and to limit their rushing to maybe just forcing him out of the pocket. I mean, there was a lot of times where our defense was playing well. We were getting pressure on him and he was just getting away. I mean, he was a slippery mother finger. So, I mean, there's a lot of positive things to take away from it. Now, during the game, we were talking about, first and second down, running a 3-man front versus a four-man front on third down and getting sacks and getting that pressure in there. You can talk about Davis, putting too much pressure there and getting past the quarterback and not containing him. So, and just working his way to a point to where he'd be able to keep him, right there on the edge. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that they could they work on? Sure. But really, I mean, we had a true freshman quarterback playing his first full start. He came out, the game plan was exactly what we wanted to see from this team. From that perspective, we ran the ball a lot. Emmett had a day. Latif did not make any real mistakes, no turnovers. And, Archie came out there, another true freshman, made a couple of great punts that pinned them back. And, while they did drive 96 yards for a touchdown, I mean, that drive happened because Archie pinned them back there. But we only touched the ball 3 times in the first half. We scored on all 3 of those drives. We didn't even have a fourth down until I opened my big ass mouth and said something about it in the text thread at one point. And I said, when was the last time we had a fourth, went this deep into a game and didn't have a fourth down? Sure enough, then we, poor Barney got leveled on that third down attempt and we had to punt. So, I mean, there are so many positive things to take away from this. I am fully drinking the Kool-Aid with Latif right now because you know what? While I think Dylan is a little bit more controlled quarterback and has his limitations in the pocket, but is still, very, very valuable to this team. He's not playing the rest of the season, and we need to look forward to the guy that is. And I think there's a lot of really good things that could come out of the next 2 weeks with the bye week before we go into Penn State with him, because I think, you can take that foundation, you can tell it was a limited playbook and actually build on it and hopefully come out there and we will see, I think, some downfield passes. I think we'll see a lot more, RPO. And I do think that Emmett is going to make a good, no pun intended, run at his Heisman run in that game too. I think we're going to be very run heavy against them. And for the defense's perspective, we are going to be facing a pocket quarterback. And if we can get the kind of pressure on him that we got on Maeva, then we're probably going to see quite a few sacks as well.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. There's stats and there's style of play. And so I don't get enamored too much with stats, good or bad, a lot of times because it can mean a lot of different things. It's what I see defensively in this game. Like, I agree with you. Number one, I agree with you. There's so much positive takeaway from this game. There's so much positive.
You and I had that conversation back and forth. Well, all of us did in the text thread.
There's so much positive from this game. Offensively, I have nothing. I literally I don't have a critique of any kind. I really don't. I could say Latif could use a few more carries, but the reality is my biggest critique from that game defensively would just be we only had 3 first half possessions. We didn't have a lot of possessions because we couldn't get off the field on defense, and we couldn't get off the field on defense because we need to get more disciplined in our pass rush when you're playing a quarterback that can run like that. And so that gets, and what I've wanted to do with the show for 9 years since we started this was to be able to have discussions like this after wins, especially after wins, of that we won it. How do we get better? What did we do well? What did we not do well? And for 9 years, we typically speaking have never been able to have those discussions because by this point in the season, we're 3-6 and we're talking big picture things about who's going to get fired and how do we have to reboot the system again and all this stuff. And it's so refreshing. Honestly, it's so refreshing to not be in that position right now, to be 7-3, to be more than bowl eligible already, and to be able to look at a victory and then on the road in front of a great crowd Husker crowd at UCLA and say, how can we get better? We're going to get into some of those conversations with the next few tweets, but I'll just, before we even get into any of those discussions, I agree with you 100% there, Rob. I mean, there's so much positive to take away from this. I think that's a great start.
I don't have the Kool-Aid Award for nothing, Honky. I mean, it's sitting right behind me, and it exists. I can show you, but it's behind my Star Wars lunchbox.
I want to get in depth on style discussion. The scheme, the X's and O's, and I think we're going to get into that. And before we do the last one, I want to show you. This one is from Dave Fight, and he goes, popping in 3 months later to note that approximately 30% of the respondents had in-use record correct through 9 games. And that goes back 3 months ago to our game-by-game Redcaster poll where we would be. Right now we're 7-3. So about 30% of the respondents had Nebraska going 7-3 through 10 games. So, I think if I remember right, our game-by-game polls has 11-1. We'll see where we end up here. Boomer, a week ago, you brought up someone asked the question about 7.5 wins, and here we are. We're one more win away, and we got to get 1 or 2 if we want to get over that 7.5 number. But so we're a little bit excited, Husker fans, Redcast fans, at the beginning of the year. But that leads us into, from the Husk guys here. This is where we start talking some real numbers and stats. This is a defensive one here. This is with the black shirts. Abby, I'm going to hand this one over to you. But Husk guys say one thing that's sticking out to me is how the black shirts are holding nearly every single QB we play to their worst passing game of the season, but they're also having their best rushing game of the season. And they go through each one of the passing yards and each one of the rushing yards where somebody has a season high and a season low at the same time. This starts to get us into this discussion about, stats and style and X's and O's and everything. What are your takeaways as you look at us having real great passing defense success to Rob's point, but also, the run defense, there is an issue there. There's a problem, or the scrambling of those QBs. That's been a problem in some of these games. What do we do to fix that essentially?
I don't know if we can fix it right now. I think we limit as best as we can. I don't think we fix it. I don't think there's fixing. We have 2 games. I think we just try to limit and do what we can. I will tell you that my dad is of the impression, and he has told me this numerous times, that if offensive coordinators were smart, they would never try to throw the ball against us. Just keep running the ball, just because we can't stop it. We can't. I mean, we can't stop the run as effectively.
It's the quarterback run.
It's not just the quarterback run. It's not just the quarterback run. But either way, there are elusive quarterbacks. The point of the matter is there is a way to beat us on defense. There's a way to beat our defense. And it is unfortunate because, golly gracious, should stopping the run in the Big Ten be the thing we are good at. I don't want this to be negative. I love that we have such a great pass defense. I really do. I think that could hurt us. I think, right, like Rob said, we're one of the few teams that have held every team under 400 yards, but also it's really hard to get 400 yards rushing. So it's probably not that, you know what I mean? It's give or take what that really means. If you're going to say we're going to talk about stats and style, know that that's kind of the caveat of that stat.
Well, we held Michigan under 400 yards, but 290 or whatever running yards, right? So it was a rough game in terms of kind of getting pushed around. I think there's a lot of nuance that we could start to have with this discussion, especially about run defense and even front, not just 3-man and 4-man fronts, but really even and odd fronts, and what we do well, what we don't. I said last week that we need to win the rushing differential in the game. Guess what? We lost it by 1 yard last week. UCLA ran for 157. We ran for 156. But I'll make another nuanced conversation off it a week later. They did not run for 157 yards on us.
Nico
scrambled.
Did.
They scrambled. Yeah. And scrambling. I've heard it said in the past game, if you get sacked, like in college football, when you get sacked, that goes against your rush offense, and pros, it goes against your pass offense. Scrambling yards should not be rushing yards. Those are passing yards. It's a passing play, but it broke down. Now, here's my thing. What can you fix? I mean, I legitimately think you could fix things. You could fix them by next week if you do the right things. And when you look at the rush lanes of what we do, I don't have the time to break down the film like I'd love to on this, but You can see it on a play-by-play basis. We've sacked them a couple times, and you saw how it worked. When you get your DNs, they rush to the depth of the quarterback. Rush to the depth of the quarterback where he cannot go left or right. You rush to the depth of the quarterback, and then you come back to him. That's your DNs. That's your outside. I don't care if you're in a 3-man, a 4-man, even odd. Whoever your outside guys are, you do that. In the center, you want your guys going about half the distance in there. Don't give them a place to step up and run. And what we've had guys that took their shots. There was people on Twitter on Saturday night that said we're not aggressive enough on defense. I didn't think that was the issue at all. I thought we were overly aggressive. Somebody would get out of their rush lane. They'd take a shot at Nico, and man, they got close. And when they missed, they left a wide open area for Nico to run through. UCLA did not want Nico, or they were not designing plays for Nico to run all over the place. They were designing plays for him to stay in the pocket, and we let him get out of it. To me, I looked at it more like it was I felt watching it from an X's and O's perspective, it was more of a lack of discipline at times and a lack of keeping your rush lanes, and we opened up huge spaces for him to get out and run. And at the end of the day, we won the game, and they really couldn't run the ball much on us. I mean, they're running back. Looking at that, Thomas, he had 12 carries for 39 yards. Berger had 5 carries for 19 yards. They were not run
71 yards total outside of outside of Nico.
And the vast majority of Nico's were scrambles. There were a couple that were called calls. So I can see some positive there. And when we get to Penn State, that quarterback, that's the time where you can get more aggressive. Mm-hmm. You can shoot your shot a little bit and do I thought some of the shots they tried to take last week were unnecessary. We'd miss. And then that's when Nico ended up having wide open spaces. And so I can look at some of this and say, I think we can still fix things here. We've got 3 more games with the bowl game included. I also do want to say it's not just 3 and 4-man fronts. And I know I've been saying that. It's really even and odd. I really would love to see us get away as much as possible from just pure nose tackles right in the middle, an odd front. They had a play last week, and again, I wish I had the video to show it here. It was a 5-yard run up the gut. We defended it fine defensively, but they hand the ball off, and the running back for UCLA just had to pick a side. Do they go left or do they go right? And there's gaps on each side. You get an even front, and you don't have those same gaps there. And so, back in the day when you'd have an Ndamukong Suh kind of D lineman, they'd call him a 2-gapper, a lineman that can step up and play both sides of an offensive line. Maybe Nash could do that. We don't have that right now, and help ourselves out here. I mean, I think the run defense, we're figuring it out. You get into some even fronts there on those first and second downs. They're not able to. I've seen enough examples. They're not able to run and have the open spaces to run. And then on those pass rushes, you just got to be more disciplined. That's my opinion. And a lot of the running quarterbacks this year, it's been where we've broke down in our pass rush.
I mean, isn't that kind of the point of wanting a running quarterback, though, where if the pass does break down, he can scramble out and go? I mean,
well, it's how you let him scramble out, Boomer. I have no problem with the fact that Nico is going to want to scramble around. For us, if you're disciplined, if you get your DNs to the depth of him, he can't, unless he wants to spin out. He never had to spin out. It wasn't like he had to work hard to get to the outside of the pocket. We would have somebody on the outside, whether it was a called stunt, or there are times where we'd have an outside rusher, and then he would take an inside angle, and he'd get himself blocked in. And then guess what Nico just did? Just like walked around to the left side and took off for 10 yards untouched. We need to keep that. You have to keep that edge. They call it setting the edge and everything. You need to you have to have contained guys. And then the inside guys, you have to not just, create a huge gap in the middle by taking a shot and then missing and then having a space where he can just step up and go. We had a couple sacks on him. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, that one of the sacks was defended so well in terms of that we kept him in the pocket. He had nowhere to go. And then he just gets, kind of sucked into it. And everyone kept their integrity on the outside, on the inside. I mean, and so I think what we're going to see here against Penn State is a different game because it's a completely different game plan of a quarterback. This is a game where, Abby, what your dad is saying, Penn State's going to be the one that just wants to hand the ball off and just run it right at us. The quarterback's not going to beat us scrambling around and making plays with his legs, or very doubtful that he will. Penn State will want to just run it right at us. And this is where we've got to prove it. I really believe in this even front thing that we've got to man up there, right there, tackle to tackle, not give, cut everything to the outside essentially with Penn State. But, I guess every game there's an opportunity here to keep getting better with this. I don't believe this is like the reason I'm going off on this so much is you saw it a couple of weeks ago after the Minnesota game with the O-line. You hear it in the, we got to get into the portal and get 6 O-linemen and, our O-line stinks, right? Then all of a sudden we make a couple of changes, X's and O's wise. We have a different quarterback in there. We re-emphasize the run. All of a sudden we go from having 9 sacks to 1 to 0 in the last 3 weeks. And that O-line doesn't look nearly as bad. I think the same thing here defensively. We can do some things schematically, and we are doing some things schematically. You've seen more 4-man front and more even front, and I've seen us improve there. I just want to see that continue.
Yeah.
Okay, you're pretty passionate. I haven't seen you this worked up in a while. I'm happy for you. Yeah,
like I said, I like having this discussion. This is a fun. By the way, it all goes back to the original thing Rob talked about too. There's so many positives to take away from that game. There's nothing wrong ever, Husker fans, with questioning something. Even in a victory, there's nothing wrong with questioning, can we do this better? Abby, you talked about it in volleyball the other week when we're like, nitpick something. And whether it's passing or you didn't like when they were, on serves, how they'd watch it go out, whatever, get nitpicky. Like this is the time. We're not calling out the players. It's not an individual thing. It's more of a scheme and an X's and O's thing. And what can we do better? And during that game, it was driving me nuts Saturday night. It was absolutely driving me nuts I kept seeing these rush lane integrity break down. And so it's not that we're not a good defense, Rob, or I'm not trying to say that the stats we've given up statistically, our defense shows pretty well, but we're not able to get off the field the way we should. I wanted to see a lot more Latif on Saturday night. We couldn't see him because our defense couldn't get off the field.
Yeah. And there was, because I don't even, do I even say his name right? Nico. We'll just call him Nico.
Oh, don't ask me.
Yeah,
don't ask me.
Yeah.
Where's Tim Brando when we need it? Oh,
I don't know. I think Tim Brando had more to drink than I did on Saturday. But yeah, what really another thing that got lost there too was that, Latif quietly had a really good passing game as well, right? Key had 46 yards, Hunter had 37, 3 for 37. Key had 3 for 46. Obviously, Emmett Johnson had his amazing catch and runs in there, but these guys are still catching it, and every single one of them is more than 10 yards, right? Every single catch. And poor Barney, he got so blown up on that one. They ran that play off I went back and watched the game, and they ran that play off to the right, and he made a really nice play up the field, right? And it worked really well on that 3rd down. And then the next time we came on 3rd down, we tried to run the same play, but on the opposite side of the field, and they sniffed it out, and he just got ouched. Leveled just straight on his back. But it was still fun to just see. And when you go back and look too, it feels like we ran a very small handful of plays out of that playbook on Saturday, but they were plays that worked. They were plays that Latif was comfortable with. He knew the reads, he knew where to go. And there was, we won the game. At the end of the day, we won the game.
Well, arbitrary analytics here, tweet here. TJ Latif now holds the record for the highest completion percentage in a player's first 4 games since 1995 at 85.3%, minimum of 30 attempts. Previous record holder was Haj Malik Williams at UNLV in 2024 with 82.9%. I want to bring up this one from Sam McEwen, and he did his Monday Rewind, and he goes, when Nebraska's offense looks that damn good, it starts a quarterback conversation. Not the one that pits accomplished vet versus upstart kid, but a philosophical one about how mobility changes the dynamics of a game and whether NU can put all the pieces around an elite pocket passer that gets the offense looking that damn good. We have 2 more months and much better defenses to explore the question. Let's start by acknowledging it was posed Saturday night. For a program with big dreams, it's not a bad thing. I think that's a great way of saying it, Sam. And this is a discussion. We've been having this discussion on the Redcast all year through wins and through losses. But the idea that mobility is important at a quarterback, we've seen it beat us enough times. in this season. To me, I mean, and again, this is not about individuals. I don't look at this and say, this isn't about Dylan or TJ. This is about philosophy. It's about style and scheme for me. Did I love what I saw Saturday night offensively? You're damn right. I loved it. A QB that could take the emphasis off of Emmett as Emmett went on and had an unbelievable game. But that first play of the game where on an RPO, TJ pulls it and goes for 15 yards, that changed the whole game right away. UCLA knew that was possible at any moment. And they have to defend everything differently there. And then how many times when we did complete, and what did we throw? 15 passes, was it, Rob? I think it was 13 or 15.
Yeah.
So 15 passes to 30 some odd runs. From a run pass perspective, I'm happy with that. But how many times did you see our quarterback sit in a pocket to throw it?
None.
Abby,
it was all very quick.
I'll go to you, Abby. Like, we talk about the O-line, how much they stunk. And I'm saying that, with the quotation marks around it. Go back to that Minnesota game. Like you said, that's the one I think that really spooks people and just will until the season's done. 9 sacks from a team that, Minnesota doesn't sack opponents. That's why I don't care about who the opponent is. No one can say, well, UCLA is not a good defense. Minnesota's not a good defense. And we gave up 9 sacks to them. From a style standpoint, I just love what I saw.
Yeah. But to caveat, UCLA is a bad defense. I think they're like 113th in the country. They are a very bad defense. So, But what I will say, and I think I tweeted this, and this is not like, we've seen a change in the play calling from Dana since that Minnesota game. And that's regardless of quarterback. And I'm going to say that is like, of course, we get sacked less when you call plays that are quick, that don't take 12 hours to develop. We've been screaming from the beginning of the season. That's the Dana Holgerson that we were supposed to get, right? Like, isn't that the air raid? Those short passes that then open things up later. You know what I mean? Like, that's what that's what I've been waiting for. And we saw flashes of it. We saw glimpses of it. And then against UCLA, we saw it for real. Now, I think our play would have looked a little different if Dylan were in there. Yes, obviously he wouldn't have been quite as mobile. I think we would have seen more shots downfield. I don't think that's TJ's strength in the same way that it's Dylan's strength, right? TJ's strength is in his legs, opposed to that. And so I think from a play calling standpoint, it was much better. And that's what we've been waiting for. If we had played like that all season, I feel like things would have gone differently. I think Minnesota would have gone differently. I think USC, I almost want to wash USC off because you put a brand new quarterback in there at the end, asking him to win with who knows. It seemed like they got scared with TJ in his drives at USC. It was like they didn't know what to do with him. And they were just like, well, let's not make things, they played prevent, it felt like. But you just kind of think, like, would our games have looked different? Obviously, we wouldn't have taken so many sacks. We wouldn't have been stuck behind the sticks for so many times if we just played those plays, called those plays. Michigan State's not a great defense. We could have done that same thing against Michigan State. This is what I've been railing on. This is what makes me so mad.
Abby,
can you call those plays with a different quarterback, though?
I think you can call types of those plays with a different quarterback. You think Dylan can't throw checkdowns?
I don't think Dylan can run RPO like on the first play of that game. And
of course that's going to be different, but Dylan can throw checkdowns. Dylan can scramble. Like, he can run. He has run for first downs. He's not nearly as mobile. He's not nearly as fast. All of that.
Yeah.
But he can run those plays. If he can't, then they wouldn't be in our playbook, right? Like, we didn't create a new playbook for TJ. Those plays are there. We've done them throughout the season. We just haven't done them consistently.
It's amazing schematically what we'll do differently, though, without Dylan on the field. We'll get into more two-back. We saw Pistol for the first time ever this last week. I mean, those are things that I've been calling for all year. Pistol.
We saw some Pistol.
And we haven't seen it prior to last week. And Emmett, how Emmett opens up when you have a second running threat in the backfield. At the end of the day, that's what Dylan just doesn't bring you. This is not an anti-Dylan, like, I don't like Dylan. Dylan is limited to what Dylan can do. He cannot stress a defense with his legs. He cannot. And quite honestly, he's been unwilling to just take the 5-yard RPO runs during the year that we need him to take too. there's times when things are open, just take the 5 yards. And, we've always said slide, run out of bounds. We're not trying to, do anything else with that. This is such a style conversation to me. And Latif just brings a completely different style of QB to the mix. And then you've got to call an offense around what he does well, which is moving the pocket. They got under center, they rolled him out, he RPO'd. I mean, this is what I've been wanting to see this all year.
Yeah, but here's where I'll push you is we have seen that with Dylan, because you have said specifically you like when Dylan does that. That's when Dylan is the best. So we have done it with Dylan. We just don't do it enough.
We don't do it enough.
So we're not doing it with Dylan. Then is that on Dana for not? Who is that on? Because if he calls the plays, why is that not being called? Do you know what I mean? Like
it's on both. It's on both. Look, Dylan, I think, leads you to want to be a pocket passing team with Dylan. I think having Dylan at QB makes you want to call 35 pocket passes. I don't know. I'm not that OC. I would recruit quarterbacks that play like TJ if I was the OC. That's the style of QB that I would want to go after. Mm-hmm. And I would call games the type of game that we called last night. If I had Dylan, I would still try to call the game that we called on Saturday night, even with Dylan. I'm just telling you the results would be very different. And I would say this, and we talked about UCLA's defense being bad, and we're all in agreement, right, that they are bad. I still get the feeling that if we had Dylan out there and we were running that offense, we still would have had some sacks against us last week. Like, it's the whole idea. Like, the O-line looks so much better in this system when we are putting them in different positions and we're not asking them to do the same thing over and over again when the defense kind of knows what you're going to do. I felt the defense was off balance as well. UCLA was, because it was hard to just take one thing and say, okay, well, they're in a passing situation. They're in a running situation. They're in a running situation. We'll just take Emmett. Well, can you do that? Because TJ can keep it and go take off. He didn't. He only ran it 5 times, but all it would take is him to run it 1 or 2 times, and they know that he can beat you with it. It's a whole different mindset defensively playing against us with him.
I also just, again, I have 2 things. And again, this is not me like pooping on the TJ Latif train. I get it. He, like Rob said, he is our quarterback. Right now, we're going to support him and we're going to want him to do well. But one, our sacks have gone down since Minnesota. So it's not just being a mobile quarterback that is going to that. So our sacks have gone down even when Dylan was our quarterback. So that's part of it. And 2, I again say this with just as the data minded person that I am, we have realistically 1 data point for TJ. I understand. Yeah, he played early in the season. Akron and Houston Christian are not good data points for anybody but we have 1 data point. And so what I would caution is, yes, this is a great offense. You're right. Having a mobile quarterback is great. We have 1 data point. And this isn't to you. I'm sorry. So this isn't to you. This is to every single person who now out here is just like, let Dylan leave. Let Dylan leave.
Oh, yeah, that's stupid.
So this is what I'm going to say is that's we have 1 data point. We have 1 game, and he played very well. Correct. Luke McCaffrey played very well against Penn State and then could not be a good quarterback for us again. I don't think TJ is Luke McCaffrey.
Was that COVID year?
I would say this.
What I'm saying is let's take this win. Let's take all these good. All of this is there, but let's just not again. Yeah. This is not you, Honky.
And that's very fair that we need to do that. Yeah, because like we said, UCLA was the perfect game if you're going to start TJ Latif. This was the team you wanted to start him against. They're bad rush defense. Absolutely. They're not great on passing. That's a team you want to break a freshman quarterback in, to get his first start. So, we've got that bye week. I kind of wish we played again right away just to see where we'd go next. But, Penn State will be a different animal. They've got, they're not, they're 3 wins. They still got a lot of good talent on that team. And it's going to be at Penn State. We'll see how ramped up they are for that game. I mean, the fan base was really into it for that Indiana game. Will they be able to bring that same energy when we go there? I don't know. Maybe if they beat Sparty, we'll see. But that'll be a more interesting test. And then Iowa to close out the season.
What? So. How do you get to Penn State? I was trying.
You don't really. I've been there once. You can't.
I'm because I was trying to think okay, well, how do I fly into?
You got to fly to Harrisburg,
and then you drive. Yeah, it's bad.
Philly
it's hard to get to.
And drive there. Basically, there's no. way to get there.
Yeah,
Their airport is like freakishly dangerous. It looks like you're going to crash into a mountain, So
this is what I'll say though. This is why I prefaced everything with this is not an individual conversation for me. This is not a TJ versus Dylan thing. This is not a data point like how did they do against UCLA for me. I'm talking about for me. This is a style and a system kind of thing. That offense looked very different to me. Whether they called the exact same play or an RPO isn't a run, a pass, and an option. And how that play ends up getting run with those two quarterbacks looked very different because one person is going to do different things with it. Whether it's TJ, whoever the QB is, I think what we saw is the formula for what needs to happen at Nebraska, whoever the QB is. I hope Dylan gets back completely healthy as he's ever been. I hope he has a great offseason. I want to see a real competition between those guys. I look at maybe some of the backup QBs they have. And when we look at, who are going to be your backups next year, if we ever needed to hit the portal, do the backups match what you want your starter to do? Do you have the same style of guy? If not, then maybe you have to hit a portal to get a backup guy so that we have guys that can run the same style of offense. We've seen that enough times over the years. This is such a philosophy conversation to me. It's not a data point, individual player, individual game thing. This is, are we doing the kinds of things that I think are going to be most successful at Nebraska? And what we've seen over the years is a high reliance on pocket passing. Number one, this gets my run pass ratio stuff. I mean, the run pass ratio, again, Abby, to your point, I'm ecstatic the last 3 weeks. I'm blown away at what happened with Minnesota. I'll never understand that one game. I'll never understand Emmett having 14 carries in one game when he was basically our whole run offense. And then we've come back and he's run 27, 28, and 29 times. We actually could have the argument is that sustainable? What can we do? I think that's another conversation maybe for another night is like, what can we do to continue to build a full run game around it? This can't just be one guy. What do you do? I think getting the quarterback involved, there's backups that could be getting more snaps as well. And I love everything that Emmett's doing, but that's a lot for one guy to carry as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point with all this, Honky. I think what we're trying to see is what does Nebraska's identity want to be? And that's kind of been a question I've had all season, before TJ was in, is what was our identity on offense? If you would say, what does Nebraska do? And what are we trying to do? Did you have a definition for that?
Like for the first, let's say the first 6 or 7
games? Yeah,
let's
say 6, 7 games in. What were we? What was our identity on offense?
This is a very long-standing conversation that we've had on the Redcast going back years. It was the offensive identity of, do you take what the defense gives you versus we want to establish X, Y, Z. I'll use Iowa as a good example because people love to crap on their offense over the years. And whether they've been good or bad, at least you know what they want to do. They want to do this, and maybe they can, or maybe they can't. Maybe they have the players or don't from year to year, but they say this is what we want to do. And then I would see us at times over the years, not just this season, those years where we're gonna take what the defense gives us, and we're gonna, but are we good at doing what the defense gives us? Like UCLA last week, I love it. They're a bad defense. They were going to give us a lot of they were going to allow the QB to go, scramble around and roll out and throw. But he took it and he completed 83% of passes doing that against them. Like that takes so much credit too. And I love seeing the offensive line on those screens downfield 30 yards and making the blocks, and our receiver blocking this year. Again, we can keep talking positives. A year ago, we'd still be having a discussion about how bad is our perimeter blocking with our receivers. They've been terrible all last year. That's not an issue this year. They've been outstanding. There's so many areas of improvement there. But I love what Latif's ability brings to that position, and I think it opens up things on our offense that it's going to be hard for me to see us not use those same elements to the offense moving forward if we don't have a QB that can move like him. Let's just put it that way. I think that dual threat is just so important, and I think it ties in so nicely to the defensive conversation we had earlier about quarterbacks that had their best running games but their worst passing games against us. At the end of the day, it's about the W and the loss. Right. And this game was a W. We've had games where we've had losses against QBs that have moved well against us. So,
yeah, I mean, I think someone commented on that 7-3 is 7-3, and I couldn't tell if they were being sarcastic or not, but I agreed that 7-3 is much different than 6-4. You know, it just
Yep.
you look at it and it just feels different.
Yeah. Yeah. And, even to Dave Fight's point about our preseason prediction there, I will say, 7-3, I don't know what number I thought we'd be at right now. I just know, having watched 10 games, I really only have an issue at the end of the day with one outcome out of those 10. And the other two, I can still have the same. Like, I wish we would have done certain things against Michigan and against USC differently, but they were good games. They came down to, they were
pull
3
that
and 4
back up,
point
Boomer. Will you pull that back up? That comment by Tony. Yeah, he says my fear is that it'll look too similar to when we couldn't throw the ball with Sims or HH and relied far too heavily on the quarterback run game. I only don't agree with that because TJ is not either one of them. He's a much more talented overall quarterback. You know, he has a better arm. He has a better, I think even as a freshman, he has a better, view of the field from back there. You know, is he still learning the playbook in year one? And are the plays going to be a little bit muted? Of course, he's probably only going to have 1 to 2 looks before maybe they give him the red light to take off, but he's still going to make the throws when he has the throw there. And, his ball's coming out much tighter and faster, I think, than some of Dylan's throws. And, but I don't think it's going to look like Sims and Heinrich.
Well, it's a totally different offense in that sense, for sure. I mean, when Heinrich was out there 2 years ago, we were running triple option, for Christ's sakes. But if for any of those concerns, I would say last week's game should make you feel okay, because we only threw the ball 15 times, a small number of throws, and yet the quarterback only ran it 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the sense of, you take what the defense gives you when you run RPOs, I wouldn't mind see Latif's run numbers be 10, 11, 12 rushes a game in the RPO game. That's honestly what USC's quarterback did to us a week ago, and it's what Nico did to us this last week too. But I don't want to see it in scramble mode. I want to see it in RPO mode. That's my
like
preference.
An actual call play. Yeah.
And it's one that I think he can certainly beat defenses.
I mean, there was a couple of plays too, Honky, and believe it or not, where he handed the ball off to Emmett, and you see the play develop, and if he had just held on to it at that too, it looked like he could have scrambled or run for 15, 20 yards upfield on a couple of those plays. Like if you go back and watch the game, he hands it off because but you can tell it's an RPO, and at the same time, if he had just made the decision to keep it on those, especially off the left side of the UCLA line, there was options there, no pun intended. But so who knows? Maybe they'll see that on film, and that'll be something they work with them over the next couple of weeks. Yeah,
and 100%, Abby. Back to your point too. This is one data point of what TJ did. It's one data point of what defenses are now going to be able to see, and I'm excited. This gets into the chess match now of these next 2 games of what does our offensive staff do to adjust throughout games as defenses are going to adjust to what we do. It is a different offense, essentially, that teams are going to be preparing to play against us now when they know that that QB can be part of that run game, and we're going to have to be adjusting to it as well. So great discussion there. Let's move on here to our courtside cooking and getting into the volleyball team. And I'll start with the last tweet here. This is from Anna Bellinghausen. She goes, "Now this is cool. The Nebraska volleyball sweeps at Minnesota. They fly back and they join the Norris Student School section in Lincoln to support Macy Bosinger's younger sister, Mallory." And you can see Harper and Taylor and the group there. And anyways, and this means something to me because my son Alex goes to Norris. His favorite teacher was Miss Bosinger, who was his 4th grade teacher. Abby, first off, how cool is this that they go out there, they sweep Minnesota, and they're back later in the day and later in the afternoon, they're watching the high school championships.
Yeah, I think it's great. Plus, Mallory's a recruit, so she'll be coming in. I don't think she's senior this year, so she might be in next year. But I think it's great. I think it's a sign of it's just that culture that Matt Rule talked about within the athletic department of just how supportive all these teams were. I think even when we played, who did we play right before Minnesota? Was it Oregon, I don't know, whoever we played at
Illinois,
home.
was that
Illinois, yeah, at home.
Yeah.
I mean, Jalen and Harper were at PBA watching. When Tony thinks she's 27. She might be 27. So yeah, Mallory's either 26, 27. I can't remember what year she is, but a recruit coming in. And so, but I think Harper and Jalen were at some of the like semifinals and stuff, that day that we played Illinois. I just think it's great. I think it's a sign of like how invested these players are in their future team, in the state of volleyball, the state of Nebraska for volleyball. And I think it's great. I wish we could, I know we can't because of like how schedules work, but how cool would it be to see like Dylan or Emmett at a Nebraska football championship game, right? Like that'd be pretty neat. So I think that's great. It's home for them. So it makes sense that they'd go.
Emmett was at the basketball game tonight wearing his Heisman shirt. So that is cool. I love it. I love it when Husker athletes support other Husker athletes. We saw it with Coach Rule there in that opening video tonight, where he's talking about all the other sports. Like I love that sense of camaraderie across all the sports. And we see these athletes only on the field or court during their individual games, a couple times a week. But like when you think about their day to day, like how much they interact with each other at the food area and at the training table and the med area and everything. I mean, that there's so much where they do the life skills and tutoring. There's so much interaction that they have. And so it's cool to see them supporting each other during the sporting games.
Yeah.
So broken record. We had another couple sweeps. I wanted to do something a little different here, Abby. Instead of just talking about the sweeps, we just did this in football. We got in kind of in depth about style and scheme and all this. And I wanted to do something similar in volleyball. We haven't really done that yet, or at least with you on the show with us. You've done the individual Husker huddles and you've gotten deeper into it. But let's do it here. And there's a great video clip from Coach DBK here this week during her presser. And she said some words that I know I was listening and go, I don't know what she exactly means. And I think this is a great opportunity for you to help give us a volleyball 101 training session. So let's watch this video and we'll go from there.
You have Becca who's hitting over 400 on the slide, and you have Taylor who's hitting, 380 on the go. So, you can't triple block that. You got to make a decision. So I think that's why she's pretty effective, because she typically has a split or one up, and then you have a lot of court to use. Okay.
400 on the slide, 380 on the go, trouble block, had the split or the one up. I'm lost. So talk to me, Abby. Help me out here.
Yeah. So a slide is typically a middle play. They're off of 1 foot, and that's typically where they come around the back behind the setter, usually in like the right, not always all the way out to the pin, sometimes just right behind it, but it's basically the middle comes around off of 1 foot, slides into that position. So Andy does it all the time. That's why they call her the slide queen. If you remember, Lauren Stivrins was huge. Like it was a big thing for her.
Slide, yep.
This different slide. Yeah. There was a girl from Texas who, I hate to say it, was also very good at it. Like really, really good middles they're hard to defend, right? Because like your middle blocker on the other side is expecting the middle to come in front of the setter. And so if you come around the side, that also gives you a better angle. So that's kind of what a slide is. And then the go that she's talking about with Taylor is that low, fast set to the outside. So not as loopy, so not as high. The higher you set, the more time you allow the blockers to set up to block you. And so kind of those quick low sets are typically like, it has to get timed right because it's not high over the net and you have to get down on top of it. But it's part of that faster offense that we kind of talked about right at when Danny was first hired, of what she brings in is that faster one that Bergen kind of struggled with. I think early on it wasn't what she was used to, but has really clearly gotten into it. And so what were the other ones? The split and the one up. That's just talking about blockers. Can you split the blockers? When you've got 2 up, can you go like between them or between them and the net, basically? And then 1 up is just 1 blocker. So if you can, as a hitter, if you can get 1-on-1 with a blocker, you are more often than not going to get a kill, because you can change the angle of where you're going to hit based on where your thumb's at. So you hit thumb down, wrist away, that kind of stuff. If you only have 1 blocker, that's this amount of room, right, that you have to avoid. If you have 2 blockers, obviously it comes up, and if you have 3 blockers, it's even harder to get through. If you remember when we played Pitt, I think near the end, it might have been the very last point, we put a triple block up against Olivia Babcock. She's that good. We did it last year against Sarah Franklin, and it's just the more hands you have up, right, the bigger the wall is. Some of that is the more angle you can take away from them. It's less likely for them to be able to go down the line because you've got a set of hands there. So yeah, basically as a hitter, you want to get as few blockers on you as possible because you have the advantage as the hitter when the hands are up. You can hit angles, fingertips, lines, things like that.
And of course, defensively, if you're putting up 2 blockers or 3 blockers, then you're also exposing yourself somewhere else by doing that, right? So I think about it like I mentioned football earlier, and a guy like Ndamukong Suh, like he was a freak, right? And he as one defensive lineman, he could 2-gap, he could play multiple gaps, he could do what would take 2 defensive linemen to do. Are there examples in volleyball? Have we had blockers who were so good that you could almost single block somebody? You felt good enough with this girl that she can single block, or was it more just philosophy? Let's go back to philosophy. You're like, I don't care how good they are, I still want to have 2 up. I mean, like, where an individual can really change in what you do.
I think consistently, probably Rebecca on our current team. Probably Rebecca's the best that we've had in terms of blocking. I think her defense has always been ahead of her offense. Her offense has really come along, but her defense has always been pretty strong. We've seen Taylor Landfair's defense. Her blocking has been amazing. I think you would kind of trust her to be a one-on-one blocker in the outside. You don't want to, right? Usually your middle blocker is a little taller, so that helps. But man, we've seen Harbour get a couple solo blocks. So I would say Becca and then Taylor are my top 2 that you would trust. Andy's up there. Her blocking has gotten better. I don't think it's a thing we rely on too often. I think typically you solo block when it's maybe an unexpected hit or a fast hit and you just can't get your middle over. You typically want at least 2 on your hitter. And I think that's what Danny wants, is at least 2. But you'll typically see it's if it's kind of a fast set or kind of an out of system type set where you have to react more than like know what's happening and what's being set up.
My final question defensively, and Rob Boomer, feel free to step in at any point here. There was one particular defensive set last week. I think it was the Minnesota game. And Choboy had like 3 incredible plays on the same set, right? I mean, and she had to dive and hit over her head. She had to, what does someone like Choboy allow you to do defensively? Like, do you call defense? Do you get more aggressive because even if you miss a block that you've got someone that can clean up? I mean, like, what does someone like Choboy allow you to do as opposed to not having someone like Choboy on your defense?
I think that's a really good question. I don't know that it necessarily allows you to like maybe put up more blockers or less blockers. I just think it gives your blockers more trust in what's happening. And it gives your other defenders more trust. Like, this is not quite the same, but like, for example, Lexi was so good at being at a libero that oftentimes people would try to like go away from her. You would try to hit away from Lexi. And so that gave confidence to your other passers, right? It like forced your other passers to be really good too, because teams are not going to pass to your libero or hit to your libero if they can't help it. But in terms of like how it sets your defense up, I don't know. I don't know if it makes a huge difference or if that's just the expectation for our libero. And so it just is like, I mean, Liv makes great plays when she's in that position too. I just think it allows your blockers to trust, to kind of trust what's happening behind them. And so they can maybe if they want to be more aggressive on a set, if they want to feel better taking away a line or something, that part I'm not 100% sure on, because that just feels like an expectation of our liberos at Nebraska. We've always had really, really good liberos. And so fast, coming out of nowhere, flying through the air, all of that.
The standard is high. Boomer,
the
Rob,
is insanely high. Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's hard because, I mean, great
How do you solve
athletes.
a problem like Nebraska
Yeah, how do you
volleyball, Rob?
and how do you solve a problem that is unsolvable, right? Like, I mean, it's you can't ever account for the athleticism that she brings on the court, right? Like, I mean, you can try to hit the ball obviously in places where you think she's not going to get it, and she's still there making the plays. So, I mean, to answer your question is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's kind of like, how do you stop Barry Sanders, right? You don't. You just hope that the rest of the team doesn't play very well, which, as we all know, didn't. So that's how you stop Barry Sanders.
You try to contain him. Boomer, volleyball, another couple sweeps. I mean, any comments?
No, I don't. But Abby's got it covered. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
That's her thing, man.
It really is. I mean, they're just. It's just
our
incredible to
thing.
watch them play. They're just that good, and just let's get to the postseason. And God, I hope they win.
Well, it hits different because a lot of times I'm out doing stuff and like there's so much going on during the day, right? And like ultimately I'm trying to make it so that I can actually leave the house at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock to go watch a football game. So I'm trying to keep up. So I'm listening to the game on the radio, which doesn't quite hit as hard. Like when you hear them calling those, it's not the same as when you're watching it too. So, and the calling is pretty good. I mean, Husker radio is fantastic. There's, you've got, one cook or another on the broadcast. And then you've got, our regular, our regular radio guy. And it's like, the call is great, but seeing it is believing it in that case. And, you can hear it all you want. So, I mean, but yeah, I generally will just have like an earbud in and be working around the house or something if I can't watch on TV. And that was the case this weekend for that. So.
Well, watching it on TV here, let's look forward, Abby, to the next week. And we're going west. We play at UCLA Friday, November 14th at 9 p.m. Central. So another late one there. That one's going to be on Big Ten Network. And then I think I mentioned last week, I went ahead. I finally just bought Big Ten Plus. I don't know why it took me this long to do it. It's been great. Been watching basketball games and everything on it. And we do play Big Ten Plus on Sunday at 2 p.m. at USC. So we'll be all those LA Huskers that were out there at the Rose Bowl, go to the UCLA Pauley Pavilion, go to the Galen Center at USC on Friday and Sunday. Abby, what are you expecting to see here? Any games you think that could trip us up here, or what are you expecting to see on the West Coast?
I don't know. Danny and Harper both said it. Harper had a great quote about the sweeps, and somebody asked her, I think, if it was unexpected, and she just said no. It's not unexpected because she knows how well they can play, right? Like it's unexpected because it's hard to do. It's almost impossible what they're doing. Like this is insane. Nobody should be able to. This should not be happening in collegiate volleyball. There is parity in volleyball, despite what it looks like. And so this should not be happening. And even Danny said, she's like, she'll watch in set. She'll be like, well, this is the one, right? Like, this is the one. Surely this is the one that somebody takes. And so they both think, I think that we all do, of like, yeah, it could happen. We could drop a set. We could, or we could not. Like, it's just, it is literally this weird feeling of like I don't think we'll lose. I don't think we're going to lose to USC or UCLA. I don't think that's going to happen. But now it's this like game within a game of maybe we go undefeated, but like how undefeated can we go? Like what's the minimum number of sets that we can drop a whole season? Like I want to, and I will look that up and see what it's been historically. I assume it's one of those Penn State teams that went undefeated for like 2.5 years, but it's like, it's gotta be because we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets. I think that we've dropped 7. I know 6 or 7, something like that. And it's like,
So Abby, we finished the season here. We at UCLA, at USC. Yeah. We play Iowa at home, at Indiana. Penn State comes here, and then we finish at Ohio State. 6 more matches. Boomer last week asked a viewer question about how many wins were we going to have, 7.5 for football. I'll throw the same thing at you. I'll give you a half set here, over under. Do we lose a set the remainder of the season? Those last 6.
I'll tell you. I think if we get out of California without losing a set, we don't lose a set. We're not going to lose a set to Iowa. We're not going to lose a set to Ohio State. Ohio State's bad. I think they have 2 conference wins. They're bad. Iowa's better than expected, but I think we'll take care of them. I'm not concerned about that. Penn State at home. I'm not going I don't think we're going to beat them 25-6, but I think we'll be fine. I mean, that feels weird. That feels so weird to say about Penn State. Yeah, Indiana might give us some trouble, but I don't think. Are we at Indiana for that game? Is
At
that what you said?
Indiana, yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think if it doesn't happen this weekend, it doesn't happen.
On the
I think
West
that's
Coast.
my prediction. Yeah.
Of those 6 teams, is there a who's the best opponent that we? How about that? Who's the best opponent we have left, irregardless of where we play them?
I don't know.
Is Penn State the best of those 6?
No, I don't think so. I don't think Penn State. Like, I know Penn State swept Illinois, but they didn't even sweep Illinois. They lost one to Illinois. I feel like I want to say Penn State because historically, but that to me is equivalent of people being like, Purdue's not good and Purdue is second in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just historically you would say Penn State, but I just don't actually think – I don't think Penn State has the weapons to compete with us consistently. Now, they might get really, really hot and they might finally have an outside that plays like they know how to play volleyball again. But, like, I don't know. I think it's one of these California teams – again, Indiana might put up a fight for one set. They might be like that Purdue game. I just am not. I think it's one of these California games, and it's just because they're so wildly unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
We're not dropping another set.
I'm just saying. I think we get through this weekend, and we don't.
That was a really long way of Abby to say. I don't think we're gonna drop a set, but we might.
I don't. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, I love, there is a level of like cockiness and confidence that we see with this volleyball team that they are outwardly expressing that we never saw under John Cook. You would never see John Cook be like, oh, we're ranked I think I've said this before. You would never see him say, oh, we're ranked number 1. Yeah, we should be. He would never, I don't feel like he would ever say that out loud. Danny's out here like, not only are we ranked number 1 because we deserve it, but Bergen Riley's the best player in the entire country. Like, I don't think she said that verbatim, but she basically said Bergen Riley's the best. So it's like, we would never, like, there's this, and then even that of Harper just being like, yeah, we know we're good enough to not drop a set. I love it. I love that confidence. I am embracing that confidence. If they're going to do it, I'm going to do it. And yes, as Tony just said in our chat, if they do drop a set, it's okay. It's okay. Like we're going at some point in between now and a national championship, we'll drop a set.
Back in my day, I remember when Nebraska used to drop sets.
Abby, this is killing us because I know
it's so fun being this confident.
Boomer and I run the Twitter feed, and we've been just dying to lose this one set so that we can say someone needs to be fired, right? I mean, like we've been that tweet's been ready.
Tweets and gifts ready to go.
That far too long.
It's in drafts everywhere, right?
But to Tony's point, yes, it's fine if one does happen to. No, I appreciate the level of discussion that goes into this topic too. I think that was really good, and I love. We always talk about it in football and in men's sports. We always seem to say, the team takes on the persona of the coach, and when the coach is fiery or not, whatever. Well, that absolutely applies to here. I mean, this team is confident, but DBK is confident, and yeah. I don't see it in an arrogant way. She could be way more arrogant. This team could be way more. This team could be way more arrogant if they wanted to.
People understand how bad we could be, and like Nebraska fans, I understand that like online. People kind of hate Nebraska fans because we are very arrogant, but like, I don't think they understand how much worse we could be. I don't think they understand how much worse. No, that we could be like, yeah. Guys, you have no idea. You have no clue how long.
We could be Jeffrey the Greek cocky about like their game against Nebraska every year. Like,
could you imagine?
I'm sure.
Well, I think that leads us perfectly here into parting shots. And again, this is a good discussion that we had all show about the fact that we've won a lot of games. And I love that when we're winning, we weren't really critical of volleyball. There's not much to be critical about, but even when we're winning, you can be constructively critical as a fan base of, I think we can do this differently and we can do this better without calling out individuals and without, saying this person needs to be fired and benched and all that kind of stuff. Right. And so whether we lose a set or don't lose a set, what we want to see is we want to see improvement across all of our sports. We want to see, good competitive play. We love seeing when there's teams have a couple of local kids on them too, to boot. That even makes it better. I mean, these are the basic things I like to see out of Husker sports. And I'm seeing it right now across the board with all of them. I really am. I am, for all the discussion I had there earlier about even fronts and running the football and all those kinds of things. At the end of the day, I love the effort that I'm seeing on the football side. I love what I'm seeing on the volleyball side. I need to go to a wrestling match now and see what Rick talked about that he saw. I'd love to go to some of the basketball games here. There's so many good things going on here, and I really enjoyed the conversation. For parting shots, let's start with you, Redcast Rob.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Husker Nation. It's been quite the season so far, and quite frankly, the negativity is there's even people that I have seen on Twitter and whatever it is it's called X these days, and even some of their negativity is kind of turned into I'm starting to believe a little bit that maybe this team can turn it around, and keep that positivity up. These kids do see it. I know they do see it. And we have a week off. I hope everybody enjoys whatever wedding they're going to, or, I'm going to be cleaning up. I think we're putting out Christmas this week in my house and, starting to get some of that final fall yard cleanup going. I might feed the lawn one last time before the first snow, but we've got 70-degree weather here in Colorado. So I got in a round of golf yesterday and it's just one of those opportunities that we have to actually enjoy life, not enjoy life, as people thought Ozzy said. And, it's just feels good to be 7-3. And, we've got lots of good things to look forward to. And if somebody could just send me directions to Penn State and the best way to get there, I'm still looking at my points and everything. And I'd love to be able to figure that out and maybe make it out there, because that would be a fun game to go to.
Yeah. Well, living in the Denver area, I'm sure you have some direct flight options that we're certainly lacking here in Nebraska. I can tell you that.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I just mean, what airport's the best to fly into? What's the best route to take?
Yeah.
Should I use my Enterprise rent-a-car points, or should I catch an Uber? You know what I mean? These things matter. So
yeah, the time I went to Penn State, we flew into Philly and we drove up through Harrisburg. And one thing I will tell you, that route, and I don't know if it's changed, but one of the most bizarre things is it was 4 lanes all the way for, 100 miles. And then about 10 miles outside of State College, it went from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. And if you can imagine what 110,000 people going to a football game converging on that site, and you have a bottleneck of where it goes from 4 to 2, it was
so park. So get there the night before, park the car in a parking lot, and sleep in your car.
There you go. You got it.
Gotcha.
You got it.
There's a lot of there are people who take RVs and they just RV park and then take a bus to the game. That's what we were gonna do if we had gone, but we decided.
I'm legitimately considering it, because I've never been to Happy Valley. I never even considered going to Happy Valley, and this time I'm actually considering solo trip by myself. What'd you say?
Go to the creamery. Go get ice cream there.
You're speaking my language now. I won't.
It's very good. It is very good.
Yeah.
Me love ice cream. So that's my parting shot.
There you go. Abby.
Oh God. I don't know. We know we're good enough to not drop a set in volleyball. So that's it. That's what it is.
But can we pass the ball?
What?
Yeah.
But can we pass the ball?
Pass the ball. It's fine.
Yeah.
Boomer.
Okay, well, I guess I don't have quite as much exciting stuff. First off, I think Honky limited at the end of the day to 5 this time. I was keeping track of inadvertent ones, not intentional ones. So good job, Honky. Way to
Of
go.
of what, like at the end of the day or what?
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of
Oh,
the day.
okay.
Yeah.
Times at the end of the day, I was kind of keeping a rough count in my head to see how many times you said that just randomly. So that's your new catchphrase. We'll go with
Okay,
that.
cool.
We'll get that on a T-shirt for you, maybe by next week with any luck.
That could be the title of next week's show.
yeah. At the end of the day, it'll be good. Yeah, Rob, there's no good way to get to Penn State, so just hope for the best. So yeah, fly into wherever you can. Con somebody to drive you there. That's the best thing you can do. Sleep on the roadside. That's the best thing. And then, kind of like everyone was saying, this is a bye week for Husker football, idle week, whatever you want to call it. So it's a good opportunity to branch out in some of those other Husker sports. You've got Nebraska women playing Creighton tomorrow. In basketball. I think about another game before.
Yep.
We can play Penn State. Rifles got a couple of meets coming up. A few in Lincoln. So good chance to branch out, see a few of the other sports, support Husker sports all around. They do a good job of supporting each other. Like Rule said, all the other coaches, talking back and forth. Fans should do the same. So take that opportunity and go Big Red. So.
Hey, shout out to Brewmaster Bill texting me right now saying, "Damn it, Rob! Now I want ice cream." And by the way, Marty, I love you, but my name is Rob. Rob, in the comments there, you called me Ron.
No, it's close enough.
It's all right. I love you,
You're not
Marty.
Redcast Ron.
Didn't we have a Redcast Ron account? Or didn't
you guys
create
created like a troll
I didn't
account to
create
talk
it.
trash to me, and
No, somebody. I to this day I don't know who created it. It wasn't any of us. So.
I'm not that motivated, Rob.
It was
went
funny
away.
though.
It was funny for
a minute.
It was funny for a minute until I muted it, and then I never saw anything it commented on. And that's okay. It's kind of like Dr. Scabby something. It follows me on the.
Well,
I still don't know who that is. That's not me.
I still don't either. It's not me. I promise you.
Well, for my parting shot here, and I enjoyed this one. This was Badger Barstool had Pat McAfee asked J.J. Watt to invest in Wisconsin. Watt dodges the question, saying they need to play better. And this Andrew R. guy said they will play better if they have money to pay for better players. And J.J. Watt retweets that and says, "I was a walk-on, brother." I love it. I mean, I'm all for NIL. I get that we live in the world that we live in today, and it's different than it was when JJ played and the decades past. But I just love that kind of response there, where it's like, if you just think that the answer to this is just throw money at it, that will just fix it. Hey, we just need a bigger roster, dollar amount that we'll just get better. Look, at the end of the day, it's still going to be about people being putting the effort in. And schemes and coaching and teammates and working together and all those things. Those are old school habits. And if they can make some money too, that's great. But just paying someone more money isn't going to get you a better player always either. And so I so appreciate JJ's approach to that. I was a walk-on, brother. And we've had some pretty good walk-ons at Nebraska too over the years. Anyways, this has been a fun one. This might have been one of my most enjoyable shows that we've had, because this is kind of the core of what we wanted to do with the Redcast 9 years ago when we started this, was having discussions like this where you can really get into philosophical differences and X's and O's and teaching and learning from each other and everything. And so I hope all the Redcasters, we had a great number that were following along here tonight. Thank you so much for doing that here on Tuesday night. I hope that the Redcasters that follow along, that there was a lot that you can take away from this, learn from it, disagree with us as well. And we can keep the conversation going next week. But until then, that's another Go Big Redcast.
Go Big Red.
A Herd at Sports Network production.